I'm going to start by telling you briefly about the motivation to become a writer. I know there's writers in here, you wouldn't be here if you didn't have some kind of motivation. What's intriguing is that I never liked to write. I was scared of writing. There's something about me that, I don't know, I'm kind of a weird kind of guy, is I tend to do the things that scare me the most. And writing is one. And I'm not exactly sure, we can talk about it later on, why is writing so scary? I know for me, it's scary because it's, there are symbols on a page and they show how creative you are or how stupid you are, or how ignorant you are of grammar. So it's taken a while for me to embrace writing. I've always wanted to articulate, and articulating, speaking has always been problematic for me. And I think the writing is easier. You can get it right the 15th time. So I'll talk a little bit about motivation as a writer, and then I'm going to follow that with a talk. I'm going to talk about my book here. The boy will hit back. And I'm going to read just a sliver of it, just one page. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the inspiration to write this book, this particular book. And I'll be citing Toni Morrison, who's a great American writer, with that. And then I'm going to intersperse it with Q&A. Please, you know, writers, and I think we all like a little bit of a break, and so Q&A is always kind of cool. And we'll do that at the end too. So let me tell you about my motivation to become a writer. I've always stuttered as a kid. My father stuttered a little bit, so did I, so it was always problematic. And Miss DeCastro's second grade class, might have even been a first grade class, I noticed something about me that I was a little perturbed about. I had something called word retrieval problems, where the word just doesn't come. Has anybody ever had that feeling, where you know what you want to say, but it just doesn't come? Well, it happens to me all the time. It happened to me in first grade, and it didn't have to wait until I'm, you know, my age now. So that was always problematic to me. So the word retrieval has always stayed with me. You'll probably even see it a little bit tonight. I was always a pretty good student. I was always like B level. It was okay, B level, not A. But the writing was something I could embrace. And in time, I learned to embrace my deficits about being with the word retrieval and stuttering. And I think it's important to embrace your deficits or flaws. And I think I've done that to the most part. I've tried to. And you know, again, in Mr. Castro's class, it happened when the word door. I said, could you please open the door? It finally came to me. So, and that's kind of stayed with me my whole life. And but with the writing, I don't have to worry about that. As a teacher, and I was a teacher for 30 some odd years at White Plains High School and other places, I saw different types of students. Let's break them in two. There were two types of students. There was the impulsive student, and then there was the reflective student. So when I'm in front of the class, in English class, and I say, well, how do you, what's the most important thing in this plot line of Mice and Men? Ooh, 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 ooh. That's what you see, some of the kids. And then you'll see this. You'll see reflective, okay? And I imagine people here, you're a little bit the same, whatever. So for me, speaking was always a little more of a chore than actual writing. Now, I'm not saying I'm a victim of this inborn thing or whatever, and I think really victimhood is an issue. It's in the book. You're only a victim if you choose to be, or you think you are. Okay? I do think, I see today's world where, I don't want to say today's world, a lot of people want to be a victim because they want to have some kind of easy way out or excuse, whatever. Are there any questions so far? Okay. Let me tell you a little bit about the book and how it was born. What's the book about? Well, there is this confused young boy, his name is Matt, and this confused young girl named Mimi. And school is not happening. Family, in both cases. Their friends, not happening. Grades, their self-esteem, in both instances, crumbling at their feet. So what does a 17 and 18-year-old kid do? Well, it's obvious what they do. They escape. They run away. And in this case, they both took the 84 bus to George Washington Bridge, took a bus across, and they took the A train down to a very seductive place for them, and that was Greenwich Village and the Bowery. And that's when the plot line takes a dark turn. It wends its way and twists its way, and we have these kids who are not damaged, but wounded. Wounded kids on their own. And their escape is what the book is about. And of course, when you escape something, you escape to something. In this case, I don't know what they were escaping to. Well, you'll see. I can't really give the plot line away. Let me just, at this point, just read a little bit. We're talking about one page, because I don't like when authors read too much. Okay, this is not a children's book, despite the cover. It says this book was written for anyone who's ever screwed up, was scared, or was lost, or confused, or stuttered. And it's based on a true story. Everything in here is true. It might be a little bit in different context, but everything is true. And everybody here listening to me right now, this nursery rhyme relates to us all. It's Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. We've lost something in our life. And there's pain, and there's pain in these two, Mimi's life and Matt's life. Can they get back together? Can they heal themselves? I'm just going to read this. And this is Matt speaking, 18-year-old kid. I may look like a normal kid, but on the inside I'm busted glass. I fake it good. I used to think I was okay, but since high school started, I began hating myself. But ask me if I give a rat's ass. 3 years ago in 8th grade, I was voted most popular, and the kids elected me as class president by landslide. Girls love me, I got good grades, and I'm an excellent athlete. So what's the damn problem? High school is the damn problem. I didn't decide to lose my popularity. It just flew away. Maybe it was all a huge mistake, me being popular in the first place. Reality kicked in, and everything began to slip away. The world doesn't revolve around me anymore. But who gives a crap? Not me. So, at 8 o'clock in the morning, it's 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm cutting school again. I'm sitting alone on the A train heading into downtown Manhattan. I'm so sick of school. School sucks. My family sucks too. But the root problem is me. I'm my problem, and I know that. Just give me a little time, I'll figure myself out. I'm a smart guy. High school isn't hard, so why am I escaping it? Why am I sitting in this dirty subway car next to a complete stranger instead of sitting in class with my students, my classmates, solving a stupid math problem. Because I am my problem. That's why. But like I said, I could give a shit. I'll untangle myself one of these days. Just you wait and see. So it's interesting. I've already welled up about 2 or 3 times in talking to you. And one of my favorite lines, someone said that there's no tears in the writer, no tears in the reader. So this comes from the gut. And there's a couple things I want to talk about here in this first page. That page, my editor, by the way, that was the first page of the book, chapter 1, first page, and I love reading that and having written it. And but she says, no, that has to be, you have to have some background before you get to that. So this is the second chapter, just a little bit of inside information. So you have this kid, he's saying, I look normal, but on the inside I'm busted glass. I see this every day at Fox Lane High School and in Chappaqua High School as well. If you're a teacher, you see this all the time. These kids, they're wonderful kids, and I mean that sincerely. Coming from wonderful families. However, they're in youth, and you remember when you were under the wicked thumb of adolescence. It's tough. It's tough. And in a way, I'm back here every day when I substitute, and I see these kids, handsome, beautiful young boys and girls, and they might not be busted up inside, but they sometimes feel like it. And that's just, that's. So I'm aware of that. There's a lot of smiling, but there's a lot of crying. A lot of kids suffer in silence, and I understand that. And I think I connect with some of those kids. However, with that being said, if you're young, it doesn't mean that you have to have all the sturm and strong and tension at all. So I think some kids go through life like a fish going downstream, and that's wonderful too. So not everybody has all this. In fact, at Horace Greeley High School, this week was Stress Week. Have you seen that?
Last week.
Stressless? Stressless. So Mondays, they're aware, the administration and teachers know, they put these kids under a lot of stress, with grades, and the kids are up to it. I'm very proud of it. So Monday, what was Monday? Monday was what? Meditation Monday. Tuesday was what?
I only know Thursday was the dog day.
Therapy Dog Day. That was cool. So I think, they're in tune. They have their finger on the pulse of the students. That they're, there's a lot of stress there. So I'm going to just go over, I think, 7 items or themes, not what I just read. And then 2 is I began hating myself. This particular character began hating himself in high school. Someone said that he hates himself 5 times a day. And he doesn't respect anybody who doesn't hate himself 5 times a day. Kind of interesting concept. And I think what he's getting there, was that some people need a little humility and know that they're not all that they have things to work on. I don't know if you have to hate yourself, but I do know that you have to embrace your flaws, and that takes time. A third concept here is the character Matt says, but ask me if I give a rat's ass, because I don't. I see this all the time too. It's called denial. I think a lot of us are in denial, adults as well. And it's almost like, I think sometimes denial is imperative we need to be in denial, because if you every day knew how bad things really were, you would just crawl under a rock and die. So I think it's almost an important technique or weapon to have, denial, because you have to slog through, you have to turn the page, you have to take the next step. And if denial gets you through, okay, fine. But it is ultimately self-defeating. So this kid, he said a couple times here, I don't give a shit. I don't give a rat's ass. So that's the third one. Fourth one, I didn't decide to lose my popularity. It's kind of interesting. Popularity is a big thing then and now. And I remember someone saying that popularity is overrated and it's not worth the price that you go to get it. And I think that's so important. I think if you're popular with yourself, you like yourself, that's worth so much more. And I think like quote-unquote leaders, or many times they're leaders because they want to be popular, and leaders are really the followers, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? So popularity is fool's gold many times. Fifth thing that he says here. So it's 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm cutting school again. Matt, the character here, is cutting school. He's escaping. He's retreating. And I heard this, last week, that we all you have to play 5 games a day. I don't know if you heard that recently, someone. And in a way, that's escape. I know I still escape. Like if things are getting tough when I'm writing, whatever, I'm at my calculator, I'll go to solitaire. That's escape. I go to solitaire. And there's a lot of small things. I think a lot of kids go to escape, and I think escape is a good thing. Huck Finn, I think we Huck Finn it. Huck Finn was, when things got too tough for him, he escaped on the raft with his buddy. I don't know why I'm welling up here. But escape is healthy as long as you come back to the next chapter. And as long as the escape isn't heroin or something, which is another thing. So with Huck Finn, this boy, he Huck Finned it. When it was tough, he went to the Bowery. When it was tough, when it was feeling okay, he was feeling his self-esteem, he was at school. But Huck Finn, apparently, one chapter, he's on the raft. And then he girds himself, and then he goes back into town until he deals with all the bullshit in town and all the flim-flammery and the phoniness, and he has enough. He's pulling his hair and he goes back on the raft. And then he comes, he's going down the Mississippi, and I think it's a wonderful concept. And that's what this kid does here. He Huck Finns it. So escape, I think, can be good, but in its place. Oh, he says an interesting thing here. It's short and pithy. School sucks, he says. School does suck. I told you I was a teacher, English teacher at White Plains High School, and me being an English, I never liked school. Okay, never did. So why am I back there? And I've always felt like me being an English teacher, I feel like I'm a criminal returning to the scene of the crime. Okay, I was suspended too many times, and so as horrible as that is, school, it also, the kids here, I see it at Horace Greeley. What's the alternative? Is to escape and stay home and video games? No, when you're at school, you're competing with your peers, and being with your peers can be pretty challenging. And I don't want to keep on saying it, but Horace Greeley has some great kids, and some strong kids, and tough kids. And if you're around with those kids, that makes you stronger, tougher, it sharpens you. So just hang in there. And it's important. School is important. Also, school is also in the choir room, in the art, art class or in the field or wherever. And my coaches were my teachers. So there's so much wonderful things in school. There's a seventh theme here. Because I am my problem. So what's his problem? I am my problem. That's why. So this boy, what was redeeming about Matt is that he has some self-awareness. And self-awareness is very winning. He doesn't have all the self-awareness because otherwise he wouldn't be escaping all the time. But he's on the road. And that self-realization is an old Asian maxim. It's know thyself. And these kids, I don't think it's possible to young kids, young kids, I don't think it's possible to know yourself at a high school age, like this Mimi, the beautiful, achingly beautiful girl in the story, and incredibly intelligent. I don't think you can know yourself at this age, unless you're pretty shallow. If you're shallow, then you can maybe know yourself. There's so many aspects of who you are. So what's winning is that he knows that he understands that there's a problem, and the problem is him. Is he? What is it? He. Thank you. The editor. And the last one, and this is important, I hope I don't well up, it's so peculiar. Last sentence I read was, but like I said, I can give a shit. I'll untangle myself one of these days. Just you wait and see. So what's cool about that is that the boy, Matt, he's running scared. There's a lot of fear within him. But with that sentence, it shows that he has faith, too. So I ask you people, what motivates, and I ask myself this all the time, why do I say this? Why do I do this? Why do I think this? Is it because I'm fearful? Is the root cause fear, or is it faith? And the number one motivation, I don't like to say this sentence, but the number one motivation is fear. If you want someone to do something or say something or whatever, say, excuse me, like a kid, say, excuse me, your father's coming home, you want to do that right now, or you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why, Santa Claus is coming. So fear is the number one motivator, unfortunately. Now, I'm not saying it's just proven. However, love and faith are motivations too. I think you march men and women into war, love of country, love of family. I think it's a little more, I don't know. But, so what is motivating this boy and the girl, well, and this boy in this instance, is faith. I'm going to come around. I'm going to make it. So, that's the deal there. Are there any questions? I have a little more to go, but are there any more questions? Yes?
Yeah, I'm interested as a writer as to whether or not you came up with the themes first or the character first. Like, did the character come out of the blue, and did you decide to endow him with these problems?
I'm not smart enough.
How did you get started?
I'm not smart enough to build around an object correlative, I think someone said. No, what I do, I'll make an analogy here. I take my bow and arrow and I shoot. You know what I'm going to say, right? And then I draw the bullseye around where the arrow goes. I'm not going to shoot at the target and hopefully make it. No, I just go with the gut. My brain lags 2 or 3 steps from my gut, my heart.
So you write from your gut.
What's that?
You write from your gut.
I have to. I have to write what I like, and we're going to go into that in a minute. Toni Morrison will talk about her. But Yeah, yeah. And no tears in the writer, no tears in the reader. Um, any other questions there? And the girl, Mimi. Oh, despite being achingly beautiful and wickedly smart, she has her problems too. She has her own fears and problems not fitting in. Has anybody ever known someone who's so lovely and so giving and gentle that people take advantage of them? They're so very kind. Does anybody know anybody like that? So kind, but that person winds up being taken advantage of. Yeah. See, yeah. Okay. There you go. It's a dynamic which
I think we all do. We all do. In other words, I can give you an example.
There you go.
Okay? I think I'm like, I get along with most people, or I'll try. So I have relatives that would put me at any table. Like, you know, you go to a party, and let's say you don't know other people there, or you know everyone there. You know most people there. But then there were a few people that were invited guests that you don't know. You'll get thrown with them because you're the nice ones.
Exactly. Well, she's smart. This is wickedly smart, but she's suffering silently with her own fears, and although she's the smart one, and she, with the relationship, there's rhythms to a relationship. There's a rhythm to a relationship with this boy and girl, and she's the rudder. She keeps the ship afloat, and I can't talk about her family problems without giving out the plot line, but there are family problems that she's dealing with as well. And they work together in tandem as a team. One's the acid and one's the base. Although, you know, sometimes Mimi is a little too smart for her britches, you know, a little sarcastic. So she gets a little sarcastic, but that puts a little flavor into her. So that's what we have here. That's what we have here. It's an urban adventure, mystery story, love story. And when they hit the streets of New York, sparks fly. It's the plot turns dark, but when it gets dark, the lights come out. Does that make sense? So that's what happens. And everything in here is true. You're going to meet. Has anybody ever? Well, I know the answer here. You're going to meet. I don't like the word bum, but you see street bums, panhandlers. Have you ever gone into the city? When I was a kid, I would see these poor street people, filthy, and I ask myself, why, sir? Why are you here? You know, what happened to you in your life that brings you here? And I feel so horrible. We all do. And I always tap them on the shoulder. Like, could you tell me your story? Well, you'll hear the story of one of these street panhandlers who was a legendary figure before that. So his rolling up. And then you're going to see a dog who, this has haunted me my whole life. I went to the Bowery and I saw a dog, looked a little weird, and then he turned his face, his profile, and his eye was protruding like a wiener sausage. It was like if I had a pair of scissors, I could just snip it off. So what happened to him? Well, you're going to meet this dog, and you're going to meet on the subway a man and a woman in a dog leash. And I won't say anything more about that, okay? I'll just leave it at that. So, I know we've been talking about adolescence, but the adults here, this book will bring you back in remembrance of the time, a place that you would remember well, your youth, so you're gonna, Mimi in particular, you'll see a young girl, her soul is cracking, and she needs to shake the habit that she's become. They both do, and they can't hide behind the facade of a smile, as a lot of people do. So this book, in ending up here, it's a book about two troubled kids who would never admit being troubled, because that's not the way it is. And finally, the inspiration for writing this particular book comes from Toni Morrison, and I thank her, great American novelist. And she said, if the book you want to read doesn't exist, you must write it yourself. And that's what this one is. And so I sat down and started writing The Boy Who Hit Back. It's a coming-of-age story, but it's for any age. That's the interesting thing. I like that. And so when it's coming of age, I like that because that's what it is. It hit #1 in Kindle young adult books last month. Right now it's around, I don't know what it is now. I looked last night. I think it's around 25. And young adult and coming of age. I want readers to sit down and see themselves in each character here. I want them to see, whether male or female, that makes no sense for gender, makes no difference for gender or ethnicity. You're going to see yourself in each chapter and on each page. And that's a connection, which I want to make with you as the reader. And that's the beauty of writing. And what's better than sitting down and hollering at the character and screaming and laughing, I can't believe you did this. So that's a connection with yourself. Because everyone knows pain and loss, and we all have to deal with it. It's growing up, self-doubt, and hating yourself every once in a while. So when all is said and done, this book, when the dust settles, it's an enlightening book, and I hope you'll find it to be inspirational and very much honest. So I want to thank you. This book's been written in tears, and you'll love it. And this book is about me. It's probably about you too. So I want to thank you, and if there are any questions, please, because I know I said a lot here. And I thank you for your attention. Yes?
When I hear you talking about the characters, there's for me, academic, there's writing, but they're real. And my thing for you is, how real are they? Do they sit across the table from you, and do you have a face that you're talking to or getting feedback from that character? And that character is real. And it's not words on a page. It's a person, and you're looking at them and feeling with them, and then you're writing something. Or do you write it and then fill in the,
that's a good question also. I want to write something that's interesting. And if it interests me, and something that resonates within me, male or female, and but I've always wondered, and I wondered if it was hyperbole or not. There are some authors, they say, "Oh, I can't believe what Jill did today." Jill being a character, I can't, and they just run off. And what kills, and Bob did this, and no, it's never been that way with me. You know what I'm saying? You know, some people say, some writers say, you know, so it's never been that separated. I don't have that. I always wish I did, but I like the way I work. I need to know where I'm going, like a ship. I need to know where I'm going to, like each chapter. The chapters I'd like to keep short, and I like to have a nice ending. But I know where I'm going to go in each chapter, but sometimes I don't. And sometimes it's wonderful, where like the end of the book, I could never have anticipated where it went. So it was a surprise to me, as it will be for you. And so that's lovely. So to let you go, I think some people, that's the answer. Any other questions? Yeah.
How long did it take to write the book, and what did it feel like when you had a finished product?
took me a good year. It took me a good year. I'll make another. For me to write a book that's finished, okay, I'm not sure what that means. Think of a pack of cards. The pack of cards is you throw it on the floor. And for me, I get down on my hands and knees, and I get it all together, and I have all the pages, all 52, all done, but it's not done yet. But that's like the first draft. And then I have to do this, and it keeps on going, and that's the process that I like the most. The hard part is getting it out, and then the enjoyable part is tweaking, editing again, and that took a good long time. Sending it out to people. There's some people in the audience here who've been instrumental with the writing group. I'm a writing group here. They've been wonderful. I'm doing a story right now, and they said it was really good, but they wouldn't even recognize it now because I'm still doing this. Yes.
Are those alternate covers for the book? On the poster?
What happened here is that the art department and my publisher had a hard time.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And
they're all interesting.
and that we chose this. There's a story behind that, but we chose that, and wasn't exactly sure. None of them really got. So we decided to put these here. So they did this. Which one you like, Pete? And my students, I don't know if it's good to do that, but I asked my students, I showed them different on my phone, and I said, which one do you like best, and which one do you think they like the best, other than that? I don't know. I don't know how we can do this. It's a little awkward. Do you know which one? I can tell you the one that most people liked. Look at the, okay, it's
Second
difficult.
one down on the left, from the top.
Okay, I'll tell you which one they liked the most. There was two that they liked. This one. And that one. And this one too. Okay, a little gritty. So. But, so there would be a class of 25 and 2 classes or 3 classes of 25. Which one would you have picked?
I don't know, I like the top one. It looks like a street.
Right here? Yeah, that was, how about you? Which one do you
Yeah.
Okay. So it's kind of interesting, and so we had this, so, and then at the late state, the book came out, and my publisher had this done. I don't know. I like that, though.
That looks like a movie poster.
Yes,
I think
that's
that
right.
looks like
That's for the movie.
that's for the movie.
Thank you. Write that down. For the movie.
Well, it is.
For the movie, isn't it? Yeah, no, but so it's been writing it is, I will say, maybe I shouldn't tell them this. Maybe I shouldn't tell you this. There's something about me that does, I'm such a strange individual. There's something about me that gravitates to doing the very thing that scares you the most. Eleanor Roosevelt says you have to do the very thing that scares you the most. And even before I heard that, when I was younger, athletically, I did some things that I can't believe it. The first book was about that. And then this, writing scares the hell out. I think we went over that. It scares the hell out of me because, this is so scary. I'll tell you what's so scary, at least to me, probably to you too. That's scary. There's so much potential. Are you going to be up to the potential in that? Can you get it down what's up here? My thoughts are gold, like anyone's are, but my tongue is tin. It can only begin. And so scary. So I try the best I can. And some people are very facile. There's an author here. I'm so envious because he writes so well. He's a John Steinbeckian type of guy, and he writes so effortlessly. Or maybe he doesn't let us see the sweat in the. But but Bob Milanich here, who's a wonderful writer, has about 3 books out, 4, I don't know. And I admire his ability to get it out. Jackie Goldstein, right here is another one. Great, excellent. So, but I like being. I guess I challenge myself, and you do too. Everybody here is a fighter in their own arena. You know, you wouldn't be sitting here right now if you didn't punch out your whatever you had to punch out in your own arena, in your own way. So thank you, Toni Morrison, for that inspiration there. And I would love any more questions.
I got one more. Pete.
Yes.
After the emotional roller coaster of writing the book, what was it like to go on Amazon and see Kindle #1?
It was nice. It was nice. I didn't know that the Kindle have categories. So they have categories. And so they have kind of categories I never heard. Runaway fiction was one, and I was on runaway fiction. So I guess that's my publishers who are doing that for me, and I'm grateful for that. It was a great feeling, Bob. And then, but then I have to curb myself, you know, each night going down. So well, what is it now? What am I now? so and not get, you know, forlorn when it doesn't keep the #1. But it was good because a writer, people write, you're in your room and you're hollering and vomiting onto the page, figuratively, and crying onto the page and screaming, and you wanted some kind of validation. Does that make sense? Or some kind of, you know, just being here has been great, and people make comments on Amazon. It's great to have comments on after they read the book. It's great. I'm kidding. It's nice. It's a solitary pursuit, writing, and I realized I kind of like solitary pursuits. As a teacher, it's important for me. I love being and connecting with students and other teachers, but I do need, like air. I need to be alone. When I run. I like to be. Some of my best writing is when I'm running, I'm working out, I'm in my car. My best writing is in the shower. My best writing is in bed. You know, of course, how many people? I'm curious. How many people here have something by you if you have a thought? You have something in front of you. So nice to see. Any other questions?
Well, when's your next book?
Working on it.
Are you working on another one?
Well, a writer works on it all the time.
Okay.
This talk, you know, I was working on this talk for a couple months. Might not look it, but in other words, you know, notes and things like that. So it'll all coalesce into something. But I have to have something to say, and I'm not exactly sure what that is. But writing is great. I mean, it's, as much as we all, it's like if you're an athlete, you want the trophy on your bookcase, right? But do you want to actually train and do it? You know. So I wanted another book, but I have to be able to actually write it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you know, I have to be up for the challenge. You guys have been great. If there's no more questions, and you know, thoughts? Can I ask a couple questions? Sure. Can I ask a couple questions? I'm going to ask, and I'm glad no one asked me because I wrote it down. My favorite authors. I have it somewhere here. I'd be curious of some of your favorite authors that maybe you're reading now, or and the reason because someone asked me, who's your favorite author? For some reason, it's so bizarre. I draw a blank. I can't think. You used to see my bookshelves are like this, home in my study, but I can't come up with them. Who are some of your authors that you like?
Harper Lee.
Harper Lee. Harper Lee, and she's on Broadway now.
I know, we can't.
Well, her
get-
show.
We can't get
I
tickets.
saw, no, you can, I can't
You
take
can?
it.
You
I
did?
just,
Okay,
yeah.
good, okay.
It's very easy.
John Steinbeck.
It's really easy. It's
I
your
love John Steinbeck. I'm sorry.
Just
Chaim Potok. Does anybody know Chaim Potok? Robert Cormier, a young adult. Robert Cormier. Joan Bauer. Does anybody know Joan Bauer? She's all over here. Annie Lamott. Anne Lamott. Laurie Halston Anderson. Speak. It's a book called Speak. You like it. Stephen King. And Ben Cheever, who was invited here today. He's not here. Ben Cheever's wonderful. And Robert Mladinich over here. And Robert B. Parker. I think I've read everything by him. And some others that you like? John Grisham, I could have put him. I just didn't have room.
Okay.
Gay Talese?
Gates Talese. He's wonderful. Wonderful. Do you have a favorite author?
I'm a pretty big fan of David Long and Peter Klein.
Okay.
Joy Williams and Edith Perlman, who both write only short stories. Well, actually, I think Joy Williams might have written a novel too, but most of Edith Perlman only writes short stories.
Okay. John Cheever, I just got that in the mail today.
Laurie Moore too.
Who?
Laurie Moore.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Faulkner.
Faulkner.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hemingway.
Well, thank you so much. Is there any other questions?